man, this is hot. Oh man, this is a groove right here. So I called up on the house. I said, hey man, meet me in the studio. We're gonna do a song. Hello, this is Marshall Jefferson, and this is the story of Move Your Body, the house music anthem. As it happened, back in the day.
Gotta have house music all night long. With that house music, you can't go wrong.
I was working at the post office, hit these keys and type in postcodes and stuff like that. Working at the post office was this girl named Lynn Montgomery. Lynn took me to the music box for the first time. I was all the way house music ever since. That was like late '83. I brought it back to my boys at the post office and I said, man, we're gonna make records and stuff. And that's when we started calling ourselves On the House, because we were on the house. On the House was me, Kurt, Rudy, and Tom. I was at Loop Records one time and I saw this record. It said Jesse Saunders, hot, 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 hot. So I bought the record, took it home, and I said, this is crap. I can do better than this. That day, I decided I was gonna make records too, somehow. With Move Your Body, when I was at work, I heard the song in my head. I heard the piano first. Naturally, bass is gonna follow that. So I just got home and I laid it and I'm listening to it and I said, man, this is hot. Oh man, this is a groove right here. So I called up On the House. I said, hey man, meet me in the studio. We're gonna do a song. I got all the bits into the sequencer. When I got to the studio, I hit one button to record all the parts back at the same time. But I recorded like 40 beats per minute. I sped it up to 120 because I was a complete novice, you know. Everything just fell into place. The music without the vocals, it was only one take. 10, 15 minutes it took. Curtis lays down the vocal. I just wrote lyrics as a matter of convenience. I wanted house music. We were on the house. We had to be on the house. So Move Your Body lyrics, I wrote those in the studio.
Gotta have house music all night long. With that house music, you can't go wrong.
First place I took it to was the Sheba Baby Disco, where Mike Dunn, Hugo Hutchinson, and Tyree Cooper were DJs. They literally lived in the club, so I knew they would always be there. They said, oh, that's nice, that's nice. That wasn't the response I was expecting. This is some hot shit, man. I mean, this is the hottest stuff I ever heard. So finally I got into the music box, gave Ron Hardy the cassette. He's listening to it in the cans and he's going, and he plays it 6 times in a row. He plays the cassette and throws on a special effects record while he's rewinding the cassette to play it again. And everybody's screaming and losing their minds on it. Yeah, that's what I was expecting. That's it. Now the next step was to get the song pressed up. I paid Larry Sherman $1,500 to press up 1,000 copies for me, the first 1,000 copies. And he didn't do it. He said it wasn't house music. He thought it was crap. He thought it was so bad that he wouldn't press it up even after I paid him. He would not press it up for 8 months. It really got hyped because it literally got everywhere on cassette. Ron Hardy is putting out tapes, told me not to give it to Frankie Knuckles. My friend Sleazy D, he gave Frankie Knuckles a copy and Frankie Knuckles started banging it, which didn't please Ron, but Frankie Knuckles had a wider audience and it got all over the city of Chicago on cassette. Frankie's best friend was Larry Levan from New York. And Frankie sent Larry Levan a copy of it and Larry Levan started playing it at the Paradise Garage in New York. Somehow, Alfredo from Ibiza got a copy and started banging it in Ibiza. From there, some UK DJs got it and started playing it in the UK. About that same time, Jazzy M started ringing me from the UK. The record had gotten so big, and remember the song says, gotta have house music all night long. With that house music, right? So some journalists got copies of it, and they said, well, what is this house music? So they flew to Chicago to interview everybody about house music. I don't know how they got a hold of me, but they got a hold of me, and the record wasn't even out yet. Every club, when Move Your Body came on, it was nothing like it, man. The song before it even came out, people were just losing it when it came on. Larry Sherman saw that, and he pressed it up the next day because he had the pressing plant. He put it out. Now, I had been known as Virgo. Lil Lewis called me Virgo. Ron Hardy called me Virgo. And Frankie Knuckles called me Virgo. Everybody was calling me Virgo. What did he do? He puts out the record under Marshall Jefferson, which On the House to this day hates me for. That's why it says Marshall Jefferson, and it says produced by Virgo. I'm Virgo. I lost my nickname, and I lost my friends for all intents and purposes because of that. Another friend of mine, Norman Davis, said, hey, Marshall needs to sign an affidavit saying y'all sang on the record, right? So I signed the affidavit, and they went back to Larry Sherman. Hey, you know what? I put Marshall's name on the record because Marshall signed a contract, and I gave him $150,000 for one song. I was living in it wasn't the best place in the world, in the ghetto on the west side of Chicago. I said, if I got $150,000, I wouldn't be living in this lap of luxury. I didn't even get a refund for the $1,500 that I paid to get it pressed up. I feel like I got ripped off. I didn't get any money for my biggest hit, and I paid to get it pressed up. So I don't feel like I got a fair shake on that. I thought I got the rights back 10 years ago, but evidently I'm still fighting for a last bits of the sound recording. So wish me luck.
That house music, you can't go wrong. Give me that house music to set me free. Lost in house.
In the beginning, I performed it. We actually had On the House go on the road singing it. Curtis on lead, vocals, me and Rudy on backgrounds. Now, the first time we performed it, we performed at a New Jersey club. They went nuts. I'm with Ultra Records at that time. I had re-recorded Move Your Body. Have you heard about anybody named Solardo? I said, yeah, that's the boys from Manchester where I live. They remixed it, man, and they put their foot in it because it went gold. I think it was the longest #1 in the history of Beatport. It was #1 for almost 3 months.
Gotta have house music all night long. With that house music, you can't go wrong.
My DJ sets, I start out with all new music, but when I throw that song on, it's still like my biggest record of the night. I must have played it over 10,000 times now. I'm kind of used to it and kind of used to the response. It's just my song, and I'm proud of it.
Rock your body.
Move your body. Move your body. Move your body.